We're back, guys. Thanks for not dropping off the face of the planet, kind of like what I did. But we're back. My name is Kalah Haley with Girl Fight Talk. We're here for the 2017 season of this podcast. So excited to have you guys back with us. It's been a journey. I had to get a regular job, okay? The struggle is real. It's terrible. Who wants to sit in front of a computer at a desk all day? Not I. But that's what I had to do in order to adult like a real adult. And you know what? Sometimes you have to take some steps back to kind of get to where you want to go in life, which is cool. But yeah, I'm excited to be back with you guys. Very excited. So much to talk about. Obviously, I can't catch up on every single thing that's happened over the last couple of months. However, I will catch you guys up on my thoughts on some of the highlights. This show is going to be a lot more about highlights. We're going to get through a lot of stuff. Hopefully this will be what can help you get through your hour at work.
And, so yeah, really excited to be back. A lot of highlights we're going to do on this show. It's going to be kind of like, your favorite show, like First Take. Like all of you like, I know you all watch ESPN's First Take. So we're going to do something like that today. All right. So to start, okay, last thing that I did on my show, the last thing that you guys saw me post, I was in Kansas City with Claire and her dad and everybody with Josh. You guys know about the documentary that we've been working on, still working on it, still raising the money and raising the funds to get that project finished. So yeah, if you guys are interested, please go to e3scholarship.org. You can Google it. You can go to my YouTube. You can go to my Facebook page. You can go to any of my social media, and you'll be able to find. If you guys want to support the project, we'd love for you guys to help us out. It's obviously for a good cause. It's interesting. Bullying. We've talked about it a lot. Resilience. This whole thing. It's huge, and it's not something that just kids deal with. Adults deal with it as well. Suicide. It's been something we've seen in the media a lot recently. Even Aaron Hernandez. The reason why you guys know he was the former tight end for the Patriots, for the New England Patriots. You guys, if you don't know the story, you can go look it up on Google. But basically, he committed suicide while he was in prison. And one of the things that he came out with is that he had a gay lover. So, all these different things, these are all, resilience. I'm sure it applies to all of us in whatever story we have in our lives going on. So take a look at the trailer. If you feel compelled, please support our project. And I'm sure you guys will feel good about yourselves. So, but yes. All right. So last thing that I posted, Megan Anderson interview. We did an On the Mat with Megan Anderson at her gym at Glory MMA in St. Louis, Lee Summit, Missouri. And we had a blast. Megan is amazing. You guys, it's funny because there's been a lot that's happened. The day that I did that interview with her, I asked her, what is it that the Invicta needs to do in order for you to become the undisputed instead of the interim featherweight champion, women's champion in Invicta? And she's kind of hemming and hawing a little bit. She's like, well, I told Shannon that I needed to be the undisputed champion. Cyborg is gone to the UFC. She's no longer a part of the organization. I should have the belt, which that made sense. And it's funny because the night of the fight, she was actually the next day. I think it was the next day. She was given the full on title, featherweight title at Invicta. So that was good news. And now, obviously, Megan wants to go to the UFC, right? She wants to go to the UFC. She wants to fight against Chris Cyborg this July, I think is what they're trying to do. Cyborg's been pressuring Megan to sign, or she doesn't have anything to sign, but to want to take the fight. Ariel Helwani did an interview, it's funny because once that interview that Ariel did with Megan Anderson on his show, I got a whole bunch of new views and a whole bunch of engagement on my video. SEO, which was pretty good. But basically, a lot of comments that I saw was, oh man, I didn't like how Ariel pressured Megan into talking to Chris Cyborg on his show, and a lot of people complained about that in the comment section on my video. It was a little bit awkward how it was like Chris was just waiting in the wings, and Ariel kind of asked, can I bring Chris on to the show so you guys can chum it up? Of course, Megan's not going to say no because she doesn't want to look like a punk in front of everybody, in front of hundreds of thousands of people on Ariel's show. So, of course, she goes on. She does her thing. She's really awkward and quiet. And I think she's like, what is this all about? And it's like they both agreed they wanted to fight each other, but it was clear that they didn't not want to fight each other. I think that when Megan was responding to Chris on his show, it was out of, I want to make sure that, one, I'm not even signed to the UFC, so it's great and all that we're talking about all of this, but I need to get signed, okay? Two, if Megan's going to take that fight, she needs to make sure that it's worth it to her financially. It's so sad that this is always like one of the main parts of the conversation, but it has to be. These fighters, Megan Anderson is 26 years old. Who else is she going to fight? She's like, that's her Floyd Mayweather fight, and they're wanting her to fight for like $20,000 with no pay-per-view. That's like Conor going to fight Floyd in boxing, for Floyd for like $1 million. That's not worth it. That is not worth it. So it would be insulting for Megan to go and fight Chris Cyborg and not have the proper contract set in place in order for it to be worth it to her. And not that she's afraid, not that she is hesitant, which I'm sure those things might be there as well. Who knows? I'm just speculating. But I hope you guys understand that it's bigger than just getting in the cage and fighting. If it had nothing to do with her livelihood, they would have already fought in the street somewhere. Okay, so guys, as fighters, as fight fans, please think about things critically before you just get all upset. Before you start making accusations, think about things critically. Use the whole brain. What else we got? Yeah, so definitely looking forward. Hopefully we do get to see Megan Anderson in the UFC this year. July is coming up. So part of me doesn't even want to see them fight in July anymore because it's like that is barely, what is it, May 17th? So that's like 8 weeks away. I mean, that's 6 weeks away. Honestly, that's 6 weeks away. So I don't really even know if I want to see that fight in July in particular. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with that. Okay, I have this new segment, you guys. I have this new segment called Two Truths and a Lie. I'm sure you know the game. I'm sure you've played it. If you've ever been in high school or in college in America, I'm sure you know the game. So the idea is I'm going to tell you two truths and I'm going to tell you one lie. And you guys will have to determine what the truths and lie is in the comment section. I don't know what the prize is yet. Maybe I'll just give you a shout out on the next episode, but I want you guys to tell me what the two truths and a lie are down in the comment section. First 5 people to get it done accurately and correctly. I will not say anything. I won't say anything until maybe this Friday. Depends on when we get this out. But when you guys, post, don't bash each other in the comment section, okay? It's also going to kind of depend on you guys knowing how much is going on in MMA news. So if you're going to be on this show, you got to listen to other stuff. You got to know what's going on in MMA. Okay, first one. Two truths and a lie, okay? First one. And this also, let me also say this. It also, if you guys want to know which one is the truth and which one is a lie, I suggest you also follow me on social media because a lot of these stem from my Twitter and my Instagram account. So follow me at Girl Fight Talk, all one word, no spaces, at Girl Fight Talk on Instagram and all the others, Twitter and all that stuff. Follow us on Facebook. You guys, there's a lot of good stuff that you've probably been missing out on. So go ahead and follow me there. First thing, I was about to say what it was. I'm so bad at this. First one. Okay, well, I kind of already talked about this. Dang it. Should have focused better. Okay, first one. I got hit on by a homeless man last week. Okay. Maybe you're going to have to go back through some of the social media to even see, like, to be able to verify, because we're talking about fake news a lot today in the media and all that stuff. So there is a little bit of fake news in here, but I want you guys to do some fact checking. Go back through the social medias and see which is true, which is false. Okay. First one, I got hit on by a homeless man a week or so ago. Okay. Second one, where is it? Let me find it again. Conor McGregor's baby. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Conor McGregor had, they keep saying Conor McGregor had a baby. He didn't have a baby. D. Devlin had a baby. Conor McGregor's son's name is Conor Anthony McGregor Jr. Is that a truth or is that a lie? And then the third one is Chris Cyborg is fighting in July. Truth or lie? Okay. So I want you guys to comment put your answers in the comment section. Let me know what you think. A lot of this is knowing what's going on my social media. Part of it's about knowing what's going on in MMA news. So, and we don't do fake news on this show. So if you want to know, put your answers down and I will verify and let you guys know the next episode. And, I think I'll have to get you guys some t-shirts because I talked about getting t-shirts before. It's time for me to make another order. So if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and put your answers in the comment section. Okay. So 2 truths and a lie. Josh, what do you think? What do you think is what do you think is a lie? Let me put it that way.
Some homeless man killed a baby? Is that what you said?
No. Oh gosh.
Sorry to ruin your show.
That might have. I mean, who knows? I mean, bodies are.
I think the homeless man one is a lie.
The homeless man one? Okay. Speculation. All right. Why do you think that one's a lie?
Because homeless men usually stick to themselves unless they want money.
This guy did want. Oh, I don't know. Who knows?
So it's not a lie.
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? So I'm terrible at this game. Oh gosh. Okay, next. All right. We're going to go past that one. All right. And then all right, what else do I have? I wanted to do a little review of UFC 211. So yeah, like I said, you guys go ahead, post what you think the answers are in the comments, and I will let you know next week what we're working with. And I'll do another 2 truths and a lie next week as well. If you guys have any ideas of topics that I can do 2 truths and a lie on, go ahead and post that in the comments as well. So next thing, UFC 211. Did you guys watch it? Okay, I watched it. I watched like the last couple of fights, to be honest. I didn't even watch the whole thing. You know what? It's so weird with this whole new UFC ownership thing. I feel like they're not the best at promoting fights. Let's just put it that way. They still have the same architecture, if you want to call it that. They have the embedded, they have the extended previews, leading up to the fight. It just doesn't feel as exciting though. Like, I mean, and I know they had their summer bash, their summer kickoff thing, and there was all these like random fights, and I just feel like I need people to be authentic. If you want people to follow you and be excited about who you are, be you. Okay? Do you, boo, right? That's what everybody says. Do you. I don't want you to be Conor McGregor. I don't want you to be Nick Diaz. I only have room for one Nick Diaz. You understand? As a fan, my capacity for Nick Diaz is only Nick Diaz, not Nick Diaz, the knockoff version. But yeah, so that was interesting. So I wanted to talk about UFC 211. Okay, I want to talk about the 2 fights that I did watch. The co-main event, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Jessica Andrade. So very interesting fight. I don't know what you guys thought about the fight going into it, but Joanna completely destroyed Jessica. From the opening bell of the first round to the last bell of the 5th round, it was a complete and total dominant victory for the Polska? What do you say for Polish people? The Polska? I don't know. The Pole? I have Polish friends too. I should know this. Anyways, Joanna did a great job. Okay, she gets a lot of praise. She gets a lot of positive feedback in that she, her star is gaining momentum. She's becoming more recognizable and all of these things. I do have a little bit of constructive criticism, okay? So you guys know I've been training. I had a fight earlier this year in February, so obviously I'm not claiming to be any kind of professional, but I do notice and recognize some things, so I'm going to mention them. Okay, I noticed Joanna is not a counter striker. There were so many opportunities for Joanna to throw because I forget who was commentating that night. It must have been Joe, and I don't know who the other person was, but I think someone mentioned that Jessica was like the bull and Joanna was the matador. And whenever you have someone who comes at you and bum rushes you like that, man, talk about angles, using angles. Joanna would more or less just get out of the way. She would use her footwork to get out of the way, but not enough to cut the angle to stay engaged in striking distance so that she could counter. She's not a counter striker. She's not a counter striker. So I think that she should have knocked out Jessica. She should have knocked her out, especially because she'd done so much damage to her body in the opening first and second, I think even into the 3rd round. Whenever they got tied up on in the clinch on the cage, Joanna would deliver some devastating knees to the body, which was awesome. And I thought that was no one does it like she does. But then I think it was around the 3rd or 4th rounds, I tweeted this out and I said, oh man, Jessica's hands are coming down because she's hurt in her body. She's trying to protect her gut now. And so this was the opportunity for Joanna to knock her out. She threw, I don't know how many head kicks. I think I counted around 4. 2 or 3 of them were really solid head kicks. One was just kind of a slap, a toenail to the eye. But other than that, I'm like, Joanna should have knocked her out. She should have knocked her out. So I'm not clear as to why she couldn't or didn't. And I think what I noticed Joanna likes to do is she likes to be the aggressor, but Jessica, she really controlled the octagon. She controlled the center of the ring. Let's put it that way. And so when Joanna was on her back was against the cage, it's hard for you to be the aggressor in that situation. And that's why she got taken down a couple of times. But when Jessica would just come in, especially because she was so short, she had such a short reach, she had to kind of charge in there, kind of like a Tyron Woodley, try to charge in there and try to get the takedown. But in those instances, Joanna should have stepped off to the side, cut the angle, and threw the check hook. I never saw her do that. She likes to be the aggressor, and it's almost like her mind doesn't. It's just her style. She just doesn't. It doesn't. I don't know if it just doesn't come naturally, or if it's just that she's trained being the aggressor for so long that she just wouldn't feel confident being the counter striker. Maybe that she feels like she would be drawing into some kind of brawl if she were to do something like that. So who knows? But I think that if I was her coach, I would personally be saying, okay, this is an area that you can grow in. You had an amazing, awesome performance. I wouldn't give any constructive criticism for about a week or so, just to kind of let her marinate in the victory. But I would kind of look at, okay, man, talk about being the greatest of all time. If there's an opportunity for you to knock somebody out, you've got to take it. So that is a little bit of my constructive criticism. I think I am so excited for Rose versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, Rose isn't ready, Rose this, Rose that. Okay. Who else is Joanna going to fight? You guys are so particular. It's like, it's like John Jones. He's cleaned out the division. Who else is he supposed to fight? He's got to fight either do a rematch with Anders Gustafsson. He's got to do a rematch with Daniel Cormier, or he was supposed to fight Anthony Johnson, who's now, what we learned, has started a weed company. So I think that's probably a lot better than getting punched in the head all the time. So there's a limited amount of competitors for these champions to fight, especially as we've seen with Demetrius Johnson. So when there's someone who is willing and able to challenge for the title, we take it, okay? And then when we have a super fight, like in my opinion, I think that the Jose Aldo versus Max Holloway fight is a super fight. They need to really push that. I saw the Embedded or whatever series come out today, but I really want to see them market that fight so that it gets the attention that it deserves. So yeah, Rose versus Joanna Champion. I want to see that happen. I'm very excited. Hopefully it happens this fall, late fall, early winter. So hopefully we see that. Okay, some other MMA news. Michael Bisping versus George St-Pierre has been canceled. Dana White came out last week on, I don't know, he always comes out, he breaks news on the Colin Cowherd show, but basically said, you know what, GSP we've canceled the fight. George talked about, they originally, when they announced the fight, they did the big press conference. Dana said he wanted to make the fight for the big 4th of July card. I think it's going to be on the 7th this year. And so, you know, the whole middleweight division was put on hold. Everyone was like, okay, I guess we respect George, so I guess we'll let him come back and do this fight, even though we all know it's just a money grab. And so months go by, and we still don't have a date for this fight. And we're like, okay, what's going on? Where's the fight going to be? What's the date? What's the venue? Blah, blah, blah. All the normal stuff, right? To make a fight that, you know, make a fight happen. George St-Pierre comes out and is like, Michael, I'll be willing to fight you anytime after October. Anytime after October. What? Okay. We might have to start a new segment of what was George doing for 3 years. Okay? George had 3 years to put on 20 pounds, and he needs another 6 months to do it. What were you doing all those years, George? Right? You knew you were coming back. You knew you were going to come back. And now you're going to put this division on hold. Part of me was upset with George because in my mind, I'm like, George comes off as very humble and very like respectable and as a gentleman. And then he came back with this whole ego thing on, MMA is like the stock market and you have to know your value as a stock and all this stuff, right? We all know the spiel. And so it's like, George, your stock is dropping. Okay, the more time that you make people wait, okay, you know what else is a stock? People's attention, okay? And you're losing the value of that. You had our attention and you've lost our attention. Honestly, I don't know how much people were really looking forward to that fight to begin with, but we were more so looking forward to your return. So if you're not going to fight within 4 months of you announcing your return, don't even announce your return, okay? And then on top of that, you're going to because of your return and because you're a former champion, you're a vacated champion. I don't know how you would describe him, but you're gonna hold up an entire division because of what? And you didn't even give an explanation. It's disrespectful. That's what it is. You don't even deserve the title shot now. What needs to happen is you probably need to do whatever you wanted to do for 6 months. I think someone said, I can't remember if this was like Tommy Toehold or something, but they said, I think he was saying George was supposed to be writing a book. he was like, I have to write my book first. I was like cracking up so bad. But do what you've got to do for the next 6 months, and then be prepared to fight the winner of Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia. That fight needs to happen. I think it could happen early August. Early August, I think, would be a good time. They could fight early August, and then Tyron Woodley versus George St-Pierre could be in Madison Square Garden at the end of the year, just like he was last year. And that's, New York is nice and close to Canada, so it'd be a nice middle ground between the two countries. Or they could just go up to Montreal or Toronto to do that fight. I think that they need to really stimulate and engage the Canadian market. So honestly, either way, I think whoever wins that fight, what's going to make that fight big is George's comeback, not necessarily who he fights. Although I believe it would be a bigger fight with Tyron Woodley. He'd make it. He would really. I feel. He would be motivated to sell that fight. So hopefully we see that happen. Okay. This is good news for Yoel Romero. Sometimes it's good to wait around in this fight game. Okay. Sometimes it worked out for Tyron Woodley. Honestly, he's the only one I can think of who it worked out for, but it's also now worked out for Yoel Romero. He waited around. He wanted his title shot. He's the number one contender, and now he's going to get that fight because George messed up. So congratulations, Yoel Romero. That is not what Michael Bisping wanted. I wish we could hear the inner monologue of Michael talking to himself. He was about to have the biggest payday of his entire career. He's pushing 40. He's bigger than George. He's stronger than George, I think. And he was going to be competing for his title. So I think, he had a lot of things stacked, in his favor. Now he lost that big money fight to George. He's fighting Yoel Romero, who doesn't speak English very well, who isn't going to sell nearly as many pay-per-views. So I think that Michael Bisping is probably feeling like he got the short ends of the stick, which hopefully if he wins that fight, which that's kind of a long shot, maybe he'll get another title, big money fight. Who knows? We'll see. I think, it sounds like George still wants to fight at welterweight. So that could be a mega fight too. If Bisping wins, they could fight this fall or winter. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see what else we've got. Damian Maia beat Yair Rodriguez. I'm so glad because I feel like the UFC has been disrespecting some of these vets. I'm so glad that Damian Maia and Frankie Edgar both won their fights. They both are true veterans and need to be respected as such. And so I'm glad that they both won so that they can both move forward in the division. Dana White confirmed that he will be giving the title shot to Damian Maia after his victory over who did he fight? Jorge Masvidal, or however you want to pronounce his name. Okay. Another little but a little segment that I want to talk about. It's going to be called Paper Trail. Where did the money go? Okay. It's funny because this is just going to be a mainstay part of the conversation. It's always going to be a part of the conversation, whether we're talking about managers, we're talking about fighter pay, while we're talking about, by the way, where did all of the fighter associations go? Okay. So yeah, they need to stimulate either whether they go to New York, whether they go to Canada, they need to stimulate Canada. That's where George is from. The whole show is about him. Obviously, he'll sell more pay-per-views with Tyron Woodley than he would with Damian Maia. So and Tyron, he's really been pushing to try to build his brand. So for the sake of, not necessarily because I think that Maia's the better fighter or that Tyron's the better fighter. It's not necessarily about the analysis of it, but more so from the standpoint of Tyron's really trying to build something for himself. And so I kind of am in team, in the camp of Tyron in terms of his own self-promotion and what he's doing to promote himself. I think that he deserves the payoff when it comes to fighting against GSP. So with that said, I have another new segment. You guys, I've been brainstorming, thinking about how to kind of make this a little bit more interesting. Paper trail, okay? Follow the money. Where the money is, usually that's where the problem is, but sometimes that's also where the solution is. So paper trail. Okay, my thought is today, I don't know if you guys listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm sure you do. Joey Diaz is my favorite on that show whenever he's on. He had Steve-O on his show earlier this week. I think it was on Monday. They were talking about pay in the UFC. That's always a conversation, right? Let's see. What were they talking about? They were talking about, I guess, so Demetrius Johnson comes out and does this interview with ESPN, the magazine. I think that's where the interview was at. He talks about how he doesn't get paid enough, blah, blah, blah. What every fighter says, right? And Joe Rogan has some criticism. He's like, whoa. Okay, I understand where you're coming from in terms of wanting to get paid more, but we have to think about this logically, right? He said, Conor McGregor makes Conor McGregor money because he draws an audience, right? Because he draws an audience. Okay, I agree and I don't agree with where Joe is coming from. If you want to listen to the full thing or the full segment, I think there are clips that you can find on YouTube, and you can go and listen to it yourself. Okay, where I do agree with Joe in terms of bringing an audience, I do think that fighters do carry a certain amount of responsibility for their own self-promotion. Okay, the thing that fighters do not understand, and this is, so I'm in a gym, high altitude martial arts, if you guys are interested in training over in Southeast Aurora, go over and train at High Altitude Martial Arts. Cody Donovan and Christian Allen own the gym. Sean Sims is also one of our head professors over there. We have a lot of up-and-coming talent, which is awesome. Very excited for you guys to get to know some of these guys. I'm going to have them on my show. That was a mouthful. What was I going to say? A lot of these fighters do not understand. They are not employees. Okay. Yes, they want to be employees. We all believe that they should be employees in terms of benefits and having rights, right? Like certain labor rights. That's beneficial to be an employee. But when it comes to you as the commodity, because that's what you are when you sign a contract to work for the UFC, to be in partnership with the UFC. That's honestly the word. We need to change our vocabulary and how we have these conversations, because when you say work for, you have no equity in the relationship. Okay? Do you understand what that means? You have no piece of the pie. You basically help to build someone else's wealth. That's why when the UFC got sold for $4.2 billion, none of the fighters saw any of that money, right? But the thing is that they're not legally, and on an entity level, they're not employees. They are independent contractors. Therefore, when you as a fighter, as the commodity, you may be a commodity for the UFC, but you are also your own commodity, meaning you are your own business. Meaning, when you sign a contract with the UFC, they're not paying your taxes. They're not paying your salary taxes. You're paying that for yourself. And you're also paying for your coaches. You're also paying for your trainers. You're also paying for your nutritionist. You're also paying for your physical therapist. The UFC doesn't absorb any of those costs. That means you are your own business. Do you understand that? I am so frustrated. Ooh, if y'all can tell. You accept contracts as if you are an employee. You accept contracts. Okay, Oh, I have some friends that I'm trying to help you guys, if you can't tell. Okay. If you are a UFC fighter and you are making $10,000 or $12,000 to show up and $10,000 or $12,000 to win, which first of all, that payment model is archaic. You are, and I'm not trying to offend you, but it's stupid. And you know what? You know who I will offend? I will offend your manager, because it's their job. You are paying them to get you the best contract, right? When you're making peanuts like that, it doesn't build the MMA community. It doesn't build the quality of the fighter and of the commodity. You have to invest. You think about any other business, Facebook, right? Let's say that when Facebook went public and I don't know what the initial public offering was, the IPO for their stock, but let's just say it was like $100. I don't know. I'm just making up the number. Let's just say Mark Zuckerberg decided, oh, great, the company is worth billions of dollars now. I'm going to take all of that money out of the company and take out my stock. I'm going to cash out my stock so I can go buy an island somewhere and live it up. What does that do to Facebook? It sucks money out of the company, right? So that means that the company is no longer able to do what it needs to do, right? When you have a company, and this is where fighters and managers, you've really got to get on the same page when it comes to this. You are your own company. So you need to demand payment as if you have employees. Your coach is your employee. Your nutritionist is your employee. Your physical therapist is your employee. Your manager is your employee. You have a staff that you need to pay for. Therefore, your salary needs to reflect the fact that you are your own business. And that's the part that the UFC, man, they got y'all enslaved into this mindset of thinking that they call you an independent contractor, but they don't pay you as such. It'd be one thing if they called you guys independent contractors and then they paid you as though you were a business. They're not paying you as though you're a business. They're paying you as though you're a college dropout. Okay? Know your value. Know your value. Don't just know your value. Know your brand's value. Know your company's value. You are your company. Do you understand? Ooh, we're going to talk about this more. So anyways, Joe Rogan, okay? So I agree with him when it comes to, again, you have social media at your disposal. So, okay, you could totally complain and you would be justified. I would argue, and that's where I will come in with later on where I don't agree, but you could totally be justified in arguing, oh man, the UFC, they don't promote me, they don't promote me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have YouTube, you have all of this stuff, and you have a platform, right? Oh, you're upset because whenever they put a microphone in front of your face, you don't build your brand? Whose fault is that? The UFC can't make you spit words out of your mouth. That's up to you, okay? Again, you are your own brand. You are your own, and then within your brand, you have different divisions and different teams within your brand. You have marketing, you have accounting, you have whatever else, right? You have to build up your own business. And when you decide not to do that, you're always going to be left behind. Always. You're always going to get left behind. And that's not anybody else's fault but your own. Conor promotes himself. Okay, and so yes, we'll get to the point where the UFC gives him extra special treatment. But even when Conor didn't get that extra special treatment, he gathered an entire country behind him. He got the entire country of Ireland to get behind him. The UFC didn't do that for him. He wasn't even in the UFC when he did that. It was the fact that he had an entire country behind him that brought the attention of the UFC to Conor McGregor. Do you understand? Connor did it for himself before anybody else did it for him. Okay? Stop complaining. So, okay. So that's my part where I agree with Joe, okay? And so when it comes to Demetrius Johnson, Joe also talked about, this is a sport, but it's also entertainment. This is so different. We're not in the NFL. We're not basketball. We're not soccer, especially overseas, right? This is an individual sport, meaning that there are so many more people competing. There are so many more, because for every individual fighter, you have to think of them as a team. So whereas there are, how many teams are there in the NFL? Like 32? So 32 NFL teams, and so you're competing against 31 other teams or entities. There are how many 450 or 500 people on the UFC roster? You have to think about it. It's almost like you're competing for the attention against 500 other people. So when it comes to people's attention and to media real estate, you're going to always have a smaller piece of the pie. Literally just because there are more people that you're competing with, entities, right? And so even when it comes to, almost lost my thought. Okay, and that's the other thing. So like the NFL and all this stuff, all these other big franchise teams, part of their marketing is the fact that they have home. You have a home team. You have a city that you compete in and compete for, right? So you have the Dallas Mavericks. It's not just called the Mavericks, right? You notice how they put the city with the team together, because the city you already have an established, you have a fan base by default because you represent the city or you represent the state, right? So the Denver Broncos, ooh, they'd be so mad if the Denver Broncos ever left, because we have a sense of ownership. We have a fan base that will never die. Never die. Right? That's literally that is the fundamental difference between any other sport and fighting. So the reason why Conor gets paid better than a lot of NFL fighters is because he was able to bring in a city, and more than a city, a country to support him, and he's one guy. He's one guy. So really what the thing is, okay, so the bottom line is we're tribal. And I think other people have mentioned this. I think Brendan Schaub always talks about we're tribal. And when people want to get behind something, that's why they have CM Punk, the cult of personality. He attracts people. They become fanatics. That's what fans are. Fan. That's, if you didn't know what the word fan meant, it comes from the word of being a fanatic or fanatical. People who are going to ride or die with you, right? Like people who are going to always to the day they die are going to defend Deflategate. Okay? If you are a Patriots fan, you are always going to defend it. Same thing with our politics, as you can see. Right? That in a lot of ways that's tribal as well. And so if you want to be successful in combat sports, or honestly in anything that you do, and you want to, accrue an audience or accrue a fan base, you have to speak to certain tribal characteristics or create a culture, really is what that means, is a culture that your audience clings to you for, right? That they come to you to be engaged and to be energized by this culture, by people who have a similar set of values or whatever the case is. That's why, DJ, you have such an easy one. Your Twitch account, man. I mean, come on. You should be doing, I don't know who does his social media and his marketing for him, but honestly, like that should be the easy. I mean, he was sponsored by Xbox. He should be having, he should be reaching out to Xbox or Microsoft or whoever, because he's in Seattle. He needs to reach out to them, be like, hey, I want to do a live streaming Twitch event, and maybe bring in other UFC fighters or whatever the case is, or other top streamers who are super famous. I have no idea what goes on with Twitch. I know my dad games. That's about as much as I know. But like, I'm gonna bring in let's bring in other top Twitch streamers and do a big event on Microsoft's campus. Make it a really big deal. UFC, I'm setting this up. You come and bring your cameras, or forget it. You don't even need to bring your cameras. I'll just do it myself. Microsoft will do it, and then I get promoted through Microsoft. That would be huge. That would also help to draw and transfer that audience from his Twitch account to become his pay-per-view buyers and people who buy his pay-per-views, right? I mean, come on, guys. Like, that's like it's literally a no-brainer. And then, okay, so I agree, right, with Joe when it comes to, do what you can do. Don't just look at somebody else and be like, you didn't do this for me because you did it for someone else. Okay, well, do what you can for yourself. But on the other hand, I don't agree with Joe, because I do believe that the UFC, it's ultimately bottom line. Again, going back to, you're an independent contractor, so therefore you are in a partnership with the UFC, and you fight for the UFC. The UFC promotes you, right? And it's not just that the UFC pays you, because there is no product without you. So the UFC, you and the UFC are in partnership together. What you bring to the table is your talent. What the UFC brings to the table is their organization, but also the fact, their platform and their agreement to promote you, so that they can help to build up your brand, so that everybody makes more money. That's how it works. And when the UFC's not doing that, they're not holding up their end of the partnership. Okay. Hence, it's the UFC's job to promote, hence why they are called a promotion. They are, you're not risking a lot when it comes to financially. You're more so on the side of benefiting when it comes to the relationship. So that's why they get the majority share. However, I think that when it comes to Demetrius Johnson and other champions, UFC champions, something that you guys need to consider putting into your contracts is that there should be a minimum, because there should be perks to being a UFC champion, right? That's why everybody wants to be the champion. Part of reason why you want to be the champion is because you get pay-per-view points, but Demetrius Johnson's not getting pay-per-view points because he's not a draw. So what's the point of him? What is the benefit of him being the champion then, right? Other than the merit of it. So I think that's something that Demetrius Johnson needs to consider implementing into his contract or his agreement with the UFC, is that the UFC spends a minimum X amount of dollars per year, or even let's just say per fight, that he's the champion, where he is the champion. Okay, because that will help too. Because like if marketing didn't matter, then no one would have a marketing budget. If marketing didn't make a difference, no one would have a marketing budget. No one would promote anything, right? Because you're just, if in theory you're saying that, oh well, the audience is already there and they're gonna already know about it and they're gonna show up without us doing any work to make sure that people actually show up. Same thing. When you're making a star, when you're building a star, I agree with Demetrius when he says, the UFC puts a lot of money behind Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they're doing that because they are projecting what the market will respond positively to. They're looking at, when we put money into promoting an athlete, what's the highest return of investment? That's what they're looking at. And so give the UFC a reason to believe that when they put their money into you, that you're going to be a good return on investment for them. Bottom line, that's pretty much it. So that's kind of my show today, guys. I'm very excited to be back next week, or next time, I should say, Josh is going out of town, so boo. But he's going to, where are you going? Oh, L.A. Yeah. What are you doing in L.A.?
Getting out of Colorado.
Oh, for a vacation?
I'm going to work out there by the beach. I just need to get away from Colorado.
Oh, gosh. Tell us how you really feel.
Emo.
Emo. So Josh is gonna be swimming with the dolphins, and I will be here. So we'll have another show. I'm not sure if we'll have one exactly next week, but we'll definitely have one in the coming week. And we're very excited to have the highly esteemed Lauren Landau on the show. You guys, if you don't know who Lauren Landau, he is one of the top personal trainers. I don't know if I don't even know if that's the right way to describe him, but he's a trainer in Colorado. He trains all of the high level athletes in Colorado between the Denver Broncos. He used to train Peyton Manning. He's trained John Elway. He just trained Christian McCaffrey for the 2017, I think it was, when was the combine? Was it this year or was it last year? I don't know. But for this most recent combine, and obviously Christian McCaffrey just got signed to go play for the Carolina Panthers. So very exciting stuff. We're very excited. Not sure if he'll be in studio or if we'll do something over the phone, but we're looking forward to having him on the show. And I have a bunch of other fighters lined up, guys, from my gym who are excited to come on. Some people who you may know, some people who you may not know, but who you need to get to know and who you need to follow on Twitter. One of my teammates, he's actually one of my coaches, Bojan, Velik, y'all. Bo, I'm so sorry if I mess up your last name. I apologize. Velikovic. There it is. Velikovic. Bojan. He's going to be fighting in like 2 weeks. He's on the Sweden card, and he's going to be fighting Nico Musoki. See? He's going to be fighting Nico. Okay, guys? Bojan's going to be fighting Nico. And it's going to be on Fight Pass. So, I think it's going to be, I might be giving you all the wrong information. I severely apologize, Bo. Either way, you guys, go follow him on Twitter. I think I've got him on Twitter. I'm so unprepared. I had all this other stuff and didn't have this. Now Twitter wants to give me some kind of notification. Sounds good. Okay, I get it. Goodness gracious. Bojan. There he is. Serbian Steel. That's what it is. I knew it. Okay. Go follow him. I just followed him. Oh, that's terrible. All right. Go follow him at Serbian_Steel. STEEL. Okay? He's really good. He's awesome. Go watch him. He's going to be great. And so he's in the UFC, obviously. So he's going to be fighting on the Stockholm card in 2 weeks. I think he just left yesterday. So he went out a little bit early to, to acclimate to the air and stuff. So, yeah, guys. So excited to be back. Let me know. 2 truths and a lie. Tell me which one's true and which one is the lie, and I'll let you guys know what's going on next week. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.